welcome to the Tennessee Golden Hour. I'm Beth Moore. It'll just be me and a friend today. Matt's not joining us, but I'm so excited to have my friend Tika here with us today. Welcome, Tika.
Thanks, Beth. I am honored to be here.
Well, we're going to be talking all things women's ministry today, but
Yay.
Before we get going, I would love for you to just tell a little bit about yourself, your story, and how you got into ministry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I first of all came to know Christ when I was 7 years old in Vacation Bible School. We were talking about VBS earlier. VBS in my church. And I knew at 16 that the Lord was calling me into ministry, missions. I didn't really know what that was. All I knew at that point was I didn't want to live in a hut in Africa. And I was like, Lord, please don't call me to that. And so, but I really was like, well, we'll figure it out, Lord, as we move on and everything. And we really have. And so it's kind of, I feel like kind of changed. Different things have happened in my life. And so when I was 18, I went to college. And I was very involved with BSU back in my day, BCM now. And so through doing summer missions, I was able to really do 3 summers that I did summer missions through Tennessee Baptist. And I loved it. I loved traveling to somewhere different, meeting new people. And I also learned what I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't really want to do Vacation Bible School. I don't want to do kids ministry. But something about it just kept bringing me back to just ministry as a whole, just ministering to people and just meeting new people, hearing their stories. I just love that. So fast forward a little bit, my last summer when I was in when I did BSU summer missions, I was sent to Las Vegas and absolutely loved it. Fell in love with the city, fell in love with the people, fell in love with the ministry there. And so I got an opportunity a year later to go back and move there. And so I spent 4 years there, which was an incredible 4 years. We could do a whole podcast on that time. But I met my husband there and knew he was called to ministry as well. And we were still, we were young and trying to, figure out what that looked like and everything. So we both, about a year before we moved, we knew that the Lord was calling us to go to seminary. And so, but I told the Lord, I was like, I will go and I will support Corey, but I do not want to go to seminary. I'm done with my school, I'm done with schooling. I will go and I'll work and I'll, do whatever I need to do. But if you want me to go to seminary, you need to put a desire in my heart over this next year. And he did. I was so excited by the time we got there to start classes, to be, just to learn more about Scripture and God's Word and everything. And so I took it was kind of funny, looking back on it, it was an elective class. And it was women's ministry class. And I was just like, I've kind of been doing some women's ministry. I mean, I had been doing girls ministry, college, things, discipling college girls and everything. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll take this class. And when I got in that class, it just hit me over, a period of weeks that I was like, I've really been doing women's ministry already. And I had always kind of worked with women that were a little bit younger than me, just like a stage behind me, a season of life behind me. And so I was like, I think this is what the Lord is calling me to, is just ministering to women and serving women, whatever that looked like. And in Vegas, I had been given a ton of ministry opportunities that I look back on and say no 24-year-old should have gotten and been in charge of. And somehow the Lord allowed me to do all of these things. And so it prepared me for a wide variety of ministry. And so, again, kind of fast forward a little bit, my husband and I, since the Lord kind of moving us out of our time in seminary, we were not finished with classes, but we knew the Lord was moving us out. And we ended up at a church in Murfreesboro, Tennessee called Northside. From that area, I went to MTSU, graduated from MTSU and everything. Never would have thought after moving to Vegas that I would be back in Tennessee. I remember, this is so funny, Beth, that when I moved to Las Vegas, and lived there for about 4.5 years. But when I remember driving across the Tennessee border into Arkansas, moving to Las Vegas, and be like, "See you later, Tennessee. I won't be back."
Out. Yeah.
I just loved out west. I just loved it so much. And of course, I know the Lord now was like, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
You know,
I get it. I never thought I would be back in Tennessee either.
Exactly. And nothing about Tennessee. It was just,
Yeah.
I just loved the people, the ministry that I was doing out west and everything. And so we automatically assumed, Corey and I both thought as soon as we finished seminary, we would go back out west.
Mm-hmm.
Never would have thought the Lord would take us to Tennessee. And he did. Long story short, we ended up at Northside with Corey's role as children's director, and he started that. And there was nothing in the church that they did not have like a formal women's ministry.
Mm-hmm.
There was somebody that was doing a lot of different things with women. Some of the things that she was doing, I still do today, which is really great. But nothing like formal. There was no staff position or anything like that. And but I remember telling the discipleship director, the discipleship pastor, who was there when we started, like women's my heart. And so, but that first year, I had to, but I really did. Like I had to help Corey get the children's stuff started.
Right.
And I remember thinking like that year I was with all the kids, and I was like, Lord, can I be finished here? You know?
Yeah.
Not because of kids. It was just not where I was called to. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it because there's a need. And but I was like, Lord, if there's any way that I can serve women, you know, I would just love to be able to do that. And probably a few weeks later, the discipleship pastor called me and said, hey, let's meet. And so he was like, hey, would you come in and just start, you know, an official, formal kind of women's ministry? And I didn't know what that was going to look like. I had no idea, and lots of mistakes made. But that was 16 years ago.
Wow.
It was crazy that I've been there 16 years. And so I was volunteer for a while. Then I moved to part-time, and then now full-time. And again, it encompasses more than women's ministry. I work with our local missions partners.
Okay.
Kind of some compassion ministry type things, which I had done in Las Vegas. And so I do that, work with our First Impressions. But my heart is women's ministry, and I think always will be. So.
I love that. That just made me think some of people that might be listening today. As we know, in Tennessee, a lot of our churches are smaller.
Yeah.
And so paid staff is really maybe only the pastor and maybe a worship leader part-time or a youth minister part-time. But very few churches have a paid position for women's ministry. So what would you say to a lady that's listening today from a small church that just wants to get something started? Do you have like, hey, do this. Like, here's a good first step.
Absolutely. And that's why I love that I started out as a volunteer. You know, that there was already a little something there, but nothing like formal or official. And so that's why I love that, because I'm able to be, I'm still not full-time women. Like I have other, you know, aspects of my position. But that's what I love, is that the Lord's kind of allowed me to have all of those roles, you know, volunteer for a couple of years and have other duties as assigned, you know, as part of your job. But yes, my very first thing I remember is prayer. Lots of prayer. Because honestly, we'd only been at the church, you know, a little over a year, and I didn't know very many women. Because I had been doing, you know, the kids stuff and working with Corey there. And so I knew some of the moms, but I didn't know the women, you know, that didn't have kids, you know, in kindergarten through 5th grade. And so my first thing was just prayer. And I just really prayed through, okay, Lord, thankfully, you know, the pastors came to me and said, hey, we want to do this. Sometimes the next step is you going to the pastor and just saying, hey, I have a heart to start, if there's a Bible study or a prayer ministry, you know, getting women together, or women serving, you know, one of a local ministry, you know, in your community, just something. And it doesn't have to be several things. It can just be one thing.
I love that.
And so it can be very simple. And I love that it can be simple, and then just kind of see how God grows that from there on. But I will tell you, it was really neat. One of the first things that I did as well was I was like, I need to know what to do. I need to be trained.
Yeah.
And so I went to this event called the Lifeway Women's Leadership Forum, which they still have to this day. It's every November in Hendersonville. And I went, and it was great because I kind of just went and I was soaking it all in. And one of the breakout sessions that I went to, it was like a 2-day event that you have, you know, general session speakers and breakouts and all of this. And one of them was just on how to start a women's ministry, you know, in your church. And So I remember that time, and I say this as an encouragement to other women that maybe want to do this, is I went and I just said, Lord, as you give me ideas and as I hear these things, help me to form it for our church and for our culture, you know, in our community. And because, I mean, I was listening to a breakout session with a woman who literally had 150 team leaders for her women's ministry.
Right. Wow.
You know, in a church of 25,000.
Right.
And so she's like, this is not going to tailor to all of your churches, but you can make it and tweak it and everything. And so I did. I prayed. I was like, okay, Lord, what are the basic areas that I really want to start the ministry in, and then Lord, give me a name to go with that ministry, because I need a team.
Right.
I need a team. I can't do this by myself.
Yeah.
I still can't, you know, and I've learned even more after 16 years of how much you cannot do this yourself. Honestly, Beth, a lot of the ideas that have gotten so much traction in our church were not mine. They were other women's ideas, and they were things that they were passionate about, and they just needed a green light, you know, to, hey, go start it, go do it. And that's what's been exciting about it, is you see other women kind of, lack of a better word, buying into it and seeing them realize like, hey, the Lord has actually given me an idea, and here's somebody that can be my cheerleader in my corner.
What are some of the things that you have done to really engage women in your church and even women in the community to bring them in and hopefully share Jesus with them?
Yeah, one of the neatest things that we started almost 11 years ago was a fitness class.
Okay.
And if you would have asked me 11 years ago, Tika, are you going to be leading a fitness class?
Right.
You know, I'd be like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting and kind of how the Lord worked was I was noticing in the hallways, we have a Tuesday, Thursday preschool, weekday preschool, and the moms would come in, you know, drop their kids off, and they'd be in workout clothes.
Yeah.
And I was like, Lord, it would be a great way to minister to these women in our community, because a lot of them were not a part of our church, not a part of any church. And I was like, this would be a great, like, what if we had fitness classes here, and just to be able to reach those women. And but I was like, I ain't starting it. Like, I don't know. I've never done any fitness thing. At any time in my life consistently, and I'm like, I ain't gonna do it. So Lord, help me, you know. And so I prayed for 3 years.
Wow.
I literally prayed for 3 years, and I was like, Lord, it's got to be the right thing. And so there was a friend of mine had called me one day, and we were talking, and she didn't even go to our church, but she was like, I'm just looking for a Bible study. Do y'all have one? You know, and everything. And I was like, no, we don't. And but I said, here are some other Bible studies in the community that I know of, women's Bible studies. And she said, well, I can't do Wednesdays because I go to this fitness class. And I'm actually about to become an instructor for it. And I'm going to be looking for churches to start classes in.
Okay.
And Beth, it was like an instant. I was like, what is this? Tell me about it. And so she told me, so I'm on the phone and I'm also typing in the website. And she said, it's this thing called Refit, and it started in Waco, Texas, and it's just kind of exploded. And so she was like, yes, I'm just about to become an instructor. Wow. And I was like, I literally was like, I want you. Like immediately on the phone, I was like, I want you to start teaching here. Yeah. And she's like, what? And so she's like, I'm not even, you know, I'm going to become an instructor in a month. And so I really need some time. So anyway, about 6 weeks later is when we started, but I just knew it because I've been praying for it already for 3 years. When I heard it, it was like the Lord said, yes, this is what you do. And so what Refit has been able to bring to our church and to our community is just this, I love their kind of their mantra is everybody belongs. And it's talking about no matter where you are, you know, in life, in your fitness journey or whatever, like you belong here. And that's really translated to a lot of us. I mean, a lot of women, we know, we all have body issues, right? And so if we just say, hey, everybody belongs. And so what Refit has done, and now we have their other format as well called Rev and Flow. What that has done is provide an opportunity for women to come and just have fun together. It's I like to say it's music and movement class, if we don't like the D word, the dance word.
Well, we are Baptists, so
exactly,
very careful.
Exactly. But it's just so fun. Though the women who started it are believers, and it actually started as a ministry in their church, and it's branched out now to where they have a studio and everything. But it's so neat because there's not only Christian music, but there's also mainstream music, because a lot of the instructors will teach in other places, like a gym,
right.
where Christian music's not even allowed. And so, but it's just been a great way to bring people into the church that may not come for a Bible study.
That's right.
And also what I've seen, Beth, is that some of our women who may not teach a Bible study will teach refit.
Okay.
And they'll become an instructor, and it's given them confidence. What we like to see, and we see it a lot, is women who come in, they start in the back row, and then they kind of gradually move towards the front, and then they become on stage and eventually become an instructor. Like, we've seen that over and over and over our 11 years of doing this. And that's what I love about it, is that it also it trains and equips our women to in something that maybe that they're gifted in, that they love doing.
Right.
A lot of them danced maybe as a kid, and they're looking for that outlet, as an adult.
Right.
And so, and it's also, we sweat a lot.
Yeah.
So what I love is that, so it becomes this community. One of the new shirts that Refit came out with, it said, "Came for the workout, stayed for the people." And I love that, because it's true. It's true about our community at Northside, but also just about the Refit community as a whole. And so that's just been so neat to see women, like I said, who may not come for a Bible study, who may not even come to worship service, but that feel like they belong at our church. With our women, some of our women, I would say probably half and half. Like, we have half our members of our church and half are not.
Okay.
That come to a class every week. And we have 6 classes a week. So, and I'm instructing now, which is something I never would have imagined. But about 10 years ago, I started.
Okay.
And teach both formats and love it. And it's been, I've never been consistent with anything. I mean, at all. The fact that I've stuck with this for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I tell them a lot of times, it's like, I instruct because I need the accountability,
Yeah.
So, but that's been one way that we've really seen generations come together.
Okay.
We've had instructors who were in their 80s. Lead our classes. We've had instructors that were in their 30s, and so it's just been so fun to kind of see those generations come together. We've been silly together. We have laugh. Like I said, we sweat together, and we move together, and it just creates this sweet community. A couple weeks ago, we were talking. We have challenges this year every month, and one of the months was bring a friend.
Okay.
And so some of my ladies that come to class, they were like, "Y'all are my friends. Like, I don't really know of anybody outside of this group that's my friend." And so to be able to have that and that community is, and they know they do. Yeah. And we love them where they're at.
Right.
A lot of times, every time at the end of our classes, we have like either a devotion, prayer time, share prayer requests, just something. We call it heart work time.
Okay.
And that's just been very meaningful too, because women can kind of share their needs.
Right.
And it's not just for women, by the way. Men are welcome too. It just ends up being mainly women.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just been a really neat thing for our church and our community that we've done, and just something unique.
Right, which is what we need more of, because we know on like the average Sunday, 80% of any community are not walking into our churches, and definitely not just an average weekday are they coming to our churches. So we've got to have unique ways to meet them, and I love that you're building community, because again, everything you hear about the world today is just like the loneliness epidemic, and so many people isolated and looking for community.
Absolutely.
And I mean, people are looking for community, and they'll go to a gym, but they're not finding Christian community there. And so to have that at the church, to say this is where true community happens, is in the body of Christ.
Absolutely. So. And I love it too, because we have kids, so we make sure like all the music that we do is very safe, family friendly.
Yeah.
And so the lyrics and things like that, and so we have kids. Like, it was so sweet. A couple of months ago, one of our ladies, she brings her 4-year-old every Tuesday, Thursday, and she's the sweetest and so much fun. And she gets on stage and helps me lead songs, and she's just so much fun. But she sent me a video of her, and we thought she had headphones on, but it ended up being noise canceling, like what her dad wears on the lawnmower.
Oh, okay.
To like help protect the hearing. And she was just on her bicycle and just singing "Blessed" by Kane, because that's one of our refit songs. And she was just, riding her tricycle We thought it was headphones, but it's not. It was just in her heart and in her mind. And so it was just a great reminder of like, this is being implanted in those kids too. You know, that 4-year-old who's just so sweet, who just comes to dance, you know, at church on a Tuesday, Thursday, and loves it, and yet it's being taken back into her home and in her heart. And it's just so sweet.
I love that. So you mentioned like this has helped foster multi-generational interaction. What are some other things that you've seen that work to help cross the generations and not just have, you know, these separated little groups of people based on age or whatever?
Yes. Well, what I love about our church, I'm going to back up a little bit, is we still have Sunday school, basically. We call it Connect Group, but it meets on Sunday morning, and those are basically age divided. And so what I see as women's ministry in our context is we need those bridges to create, because if you just came to church on a Sunday and went to your Connect Group and then went to service, you're probably seeing the same people over and over. And so what I see as women's ministry is, hey, let's connect. This is an opportunity for you to connect with women that you wouldn't ordinarily connect with. And so that happens all the time, whether it's at an event that we have, you know, where all generations come. One of the things that has been so instrumental for our church is what we call table groups. And so basically a woman would have a table group in her home. It's always in a home. We try not to have it on site at church. And we'll meet at a restaurant or something like that, but usually we like to do it in a home for the most part. And so she'll be a host, and then we have a facilitator that they kind of both co-teach, or not teach, but lead their group. And so women of all ages can come, basically, if it fits their schedule. It's once a month. And it usually is like an evening, a lunch, whatever, but we like to have a meal. And it could be just like appetizer. I mean, it doesn't have to be a full, 5-course meal or anything. It could be pizza, it could be something simple. But usually there's some eating done because women like to eat. And so we enjoy that. And then we have a devotional that they read together. So the facilitator, so the host is kind of responsible for getting the food, and the facilitator is responsible for reading the devotion. And in that devotion, we have questions that you ask your group. And so that, because it's based on, your location, the time that you're available, that has a tendency to become multi-generational. And it's in somebody's home. And so that person, those two leaders can invite whoever they want. And so we have seen great success with that. That is one of those ideas that was not mine, that came from somebody else, that just ended up being, just a huge connecting for a lot of women. And that has been going on for probably, I would say close to 10 years. And we've had different table groups, throughout. But it's just been something that's kind of maintained. And it's been really neat to see, again, leadership, the women in our church kind of be able to say, hey, I can open up my home, once a month. I can do that. A facilitator, they can say, hey, if I'm given a devotional to read and some questions to ask, I can do that. And so it's something pretty kind of easy, so to speak, to be able to access. But then it provides this opportunity for, 10, 12 women to gather in somebody's home that they may not know. Women that they don't know, they wouldn't have met otherwise. And so we've had really great success with that. What's also been neat is at first we were just finding devotions that are just around somewhere, And so then I was like, we have a group of ladies that love to write. And so we developed this writers group. And so the writers group writes the devotions for the table group. And so that has been really neat. So every year we have a theme for our women's ministry. We have a book of the year that we study, and then a key verse out of that book. And so our writers group will take that book of the year, our theme, and kind of write something based on it for every month that they gather in table groups. And so it's just been a really neat opportunity, again, to gather women and help them use their giftings. We have a writers group that's about 6-8 people. And so they're able to write something that, of course we check and we walk with them through editing and theological aspects of it and questions to ask and things like that. So it gets women in that table group are be like, oh, I know that writer. It's like a personal thing too.
For
it's
sure.
like, oh, that's my friend that wrote this. And so we're all reading the same thing too, and we're being developed even on a deeper level. And again, giving leadership opportunities for women who love to write.
I love that so much. So what would you say? I know often maybe a criticism of women's ministry is that we are, high on the or heavy on the fellowship and fun and light on substance or like really getting into the word.
Absolutely.
So how do you kind of count or balance those two things? The need for fellowship and the importance of it, but also learning and going deep in the word.
Absolutely. Well, I'm all about the fun, Beth. I mean, I know you know that. we have lots of fun together. I'm all about the fun. And so I do feel like there is, and so I think sometimes we go to the extreme of it has to be Bible study and all Bible study.
Right.
But there has to be that fun, those shared experiences that bring women together, that connect them. And so, for example, for a long time, I called it That Sounds Fun Summer. Totally stole it from Annie F. Downs, but I felt like we needed to have fun after the pandemic.
Right.
Like after everybody was just in their homes, kind of not having fun, that, okay, now we can come together and do things. And so for a few summers, I had just That Sounds Fun Summer. And so it was very low-key things. It was going out and having fun together, having meals together. We do what's called meet and eats, where you just I pick a restaurant where it may have a long table, and then, hey, everybody, let's go and meet at this place for lunch this day. So that's been really great. So we do have the fun aspect of it. And then we also have the Bible study aspect of it, where we do have Bible studies together that focus on that theme for the year or that book of the year. And what I tell my ladies is so funny. We have other little groups that are meeting right now. I'm like, sometimes, because usually with Bible study, you only have an hour and a half at most. Don't even take prayer requests. That may be controversial. But prayer requests can send you on a whole other rabbit trail.
And take the whole time.
Take the whole time, because who doesn't have a prayer request? Heavens, we all do, right? And we all have these big things going on in our lives, and so, or small things going on in our lives that are big to us. It's whatever. So I even just tell them, hey, let's taper that by send around a piece of paper, write down. One of my leaders for her Connect group, she sends around a Post-it note stack. Okay. That's just like, here, write your prayer requests on these Post-it notes. Okay. So it's small. Yeah. It's intentional. Yeah. So they have to write down, here's this, but it doesn't have to go into detail. Yeah. Right? Because the detail is what might get us, off track.
Well, we like to make sure everybody understands all the background.
We want them to know the whole story, don't we, Beth? Yes. And so, yes. But here's a Post-it note. So that's just something very simple that you can make it where it is more centered on the Bible and on, okay, what are we here for? And we've even I've had little training things recently in this, back in February, where we had okay, if you want to teach, here are some practical ways to help you deal with crowd control, basically, how do you kind of maintain that? And so again, that's where one of the Post-it note idea came from. And there was just some other ideas that were thrown around to kind of help keep it on focus. And I think that's what the leader has to be. I can easily get on a rabbit trail, as you've noticed. And but I feel like it's our responsibility as the leader of that group to kind of maintain everybody's focus, right? Yeah. And focus is very hard to keep these days too. Yeah. And so so I think really of, okay, what's the purpose of the group meeting? So I have purposes for some groups. It's just to have fun. Right. Just go and have fun. Yeah. But then we have purpose of, here's Bible study. So I'll tell you a little bit about this year's theme, and it's actually next year's as well. It's called Faithful. And we just wanted to show, my team is the one that developed this and had the ideas for it. We just wanted to see how God is faithful throughout Scripture. And so we're reading the Bible chronologically through, as a women's group, over the next 2 years. We felt 1 year is really stressful. That just kind of also causes some anxiety in me. And so we're like, okay, let's read it over 2 years. And so we have what's called faithful groups. And so they meet every week or every other week, just depending on what the leader would like to do. Maybe it's on Zoom once a month, whatever. But these faithful groups come together and they talk about what were some really interesting things that you read during our chronological reading this week. What are some really hard things that you read, or maybe some really confusing things that you read? Let's just talk about it. And so that group needs to stay on track, right? We can't be doing prayer requests a ton. Right. And so let's kind of stay on track. And so I think just knowing the intent of the group and how much time you have, because time is a valuable resource. Right. So just different things like that. What's the group for? It's great to have fun. Refit, we have fun, but we also, have Jesus at the end, where we're praying and things like that. But in Bible study, let's kind of keep on track
Yeah.
and kind of think about some different ways you want to be able to share in people's experiences and what they're going through, but also what's the point of our time together.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. So I know one thing that you've done recently with TBMB is the Women's Ministry Leader Cohort.
Yes.
So tell a little bit
Yes.
about that for women that might be interested, and is that something that might happen again?
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
We've had a great time. So the cohort has been something that I developed this year. It just started, and it was I really didn't know how it was going to go, and I still don't. Like, we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a cohort of women's ministry leaders,
Uh-huh.
and they're all across the board. It's not just women's ministry. It's children's. It's preschool. It's music. It's just a wide variety of leaders across the state. And we gather together once a month on Zoom to talk about the book that we're reading together.
Okay.
And it's Emily Dean's Women Leading Well book. And it is a small book. And she packs so much information into this little book. But it's like, I think, 10, 11 chapters. And so it was perfect for a year-long study.
Right.
So it's not a whole lot of necessarily responsibility with this cohort currently, as it is right now. It might grow a little bit more. But this cohort, it's usually about 20 women. We gather on Zoom together once a month. And on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. And we just talk. I really tried to keep it to an hour. One time we had to go like an hour and 45.
Yeah.
But it was on spiritual gifts, and it was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because we just talked about what each person's spiritual gift was, and after we took an inventory and things, and so it's been really neat. But it's been neat to gather. That's something that I keep hearing a lot, Beth, is that women, and you know this, women love to meet other women and love to network. And that was something that was missing, that a lot of our women feel isolated. They're leading, in churches or whatever. They just kind of feel isolated. They don't really know what they're doing. And so to help bring those women together and say, hey, we're in it together. We want to encourage one another. Yes, we're all doing very different things. We all have very different views too, which I love, just the diversity in that group. But also like, hey, we love Jesus. And we just want to know how to lead well and how to lead in our ministry, what God has called us to. And again, that's going to look different for every person, in every church setting. And so, but yeah, it's just a fun group that we get together, and I love it anyway. I'm having a good time leading it and just talking. We're actually getting together at my house this week, and just being able to meet, each other sometimes for the first time, because on Zoom, all you see is this little square of a person. And so you're like, oh, you're that tall. I didn't realize you were, 6 foot tall. And then when you see each other in person. But it's just a great opportunity for women who are leading ministry across the state, and they can be involved in WMU, Women on Mission, a wide variety of things. And it's just been a fun opportunity for us to get to know one another, to learn from each other, to go through that book together. I love because Emily talks about everything, on just your health as a leader. But also qualities of a leader. I think this month's is on integrity or confidence. I can't remember which one. But just things like that. Like it's just really neat to be able to talk through it with somebody else that's maybe going through a very similar situation than you are.
Right. I love that so much. Well, so I feel like we could probably talk for hours and hours about all things women's ministry. So we might have to do a follow-up conversation. But as we kind of wrap up today, is there anything else that you would say to a lady in her church that is just thinking of getting started or even maybe struggling? Like what encouragement would you offer to our women in Tennessee that are involved in maybe women's ministry, children's ministry, whatever it might be?
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Because it gets hard, right?
Yeah.
Like it gets really hard. And I love the hearts of the women that I meet across the state, because I'm involved with Tennessee WMU. We do our women's missions get-together event, or just in conversations or in the cohort, as women they're passionate about their area of ministry, and I love that so much. I gain so much from listening to women's stories and hearing from them but also knowing that our women are hurting. There's things going on in their life, health issues, family issues, all kinds of things, church hurt, whatever it is. And so I think of just remembering, I have to remember so many times in my life, Beth, where the enemy and my own flesh has said, it would be easier to quit. Just quit,
do something different.
Yes, just, life is short, do something fun,
Right.
This is too hard. But every time I come back, and I'm going to cry, I think about this, is that Jesus is worthy, right? Like, he doesn't promise ease. He doesn't promise easy times always. But he does promise that he is worthy of it. And he is. And just the fact of that alone, a lot of times has kept me in it. And just knowing that I'm called, that I know that, Lord, you're asking me to do hard things. But what I've also learned is that it grows me beyond measure. Just the hardest times, I look back and say, God, thank you for those. I don't want to go through them again.
Right, yeah. Once was enough.
That's right. But thank you for those, because my compassion has grown for women and men and just people in ministry as a whole. But just coming back to, like, he is worthy of it. And so just, even though, things are hard, but gosh, it's so encouraging to hear one another's stories. And so just find somebody, pray for somebody to come alongside of you and encourage you and equip you. I have developed those those relationships with women the past, year and a half, really intentionally. And it's just been such a joy to know that you're not alone in this, that you're not alone in the fears that you have and the concerns that you have. Also, you're not alone in the joys that you have and the things that you can celebrate. And so just stay in it. Just stay in it, that he is worthy of it.
Wow. Well, that's a great place for us to, I think, even wrap it up, that he is so worthy. Tika, thank you so much for coming to chat today.
Thank you, Beth, for having me.
Yeah, and so glad that you joined us on the Tennessee Golden Hour, and we hope that you will like and subscribe.